Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's the first time I'm streaming live and had a few thoughts on the case. I was questioning myself as I was going through, and I've often heard or mentioned of mud cement. And this is simply speculation, but has anybody ever checked any of the past work sites for Mr. Wells? Also, it kind of triggered my radar when I heard the speculations of Rose Bly being in the driveway. I wanted to know your thoughts on that. Also, a little bit about myself is I'm into true crime. I am into tarot and readings. I definitely have a sixth sense. And want to check this out and connect with a few people on some true crime issues and also intertwine my sixth sense and skills with this. So if anybody has any input, I would love it. Definitely have some gut feelings that there's going to be some bubbling of feelings coming out. Somebody's going to pop. Somebody's going to spill. And I feel like there might be someone about to talk. That's simply speculation, but that's how I feel. The pressure is too much. And that's considering one of the people that were there that day. I have, of course, my brain can go down the rabbit hole for days upon end, but just like anybody else. But you got to stick to the facts and the thoughts and the theories. My one concern and question was what car did they take to the watering hole? If Don drove the red Subaru to work, what car were they talking about taking and driving and going to get the medicine and went to the watering hole? Just curious on where that lays on how many cars they have and which cars they took on the Subaru, especially when they comment on Starlink. Did they take the truck? I'm trying to look at that picture of Summer against the milk jugs a little closer to try to figure it out, but I wanted some of your opinions on that. Also, there has been a lot of speculation on Candace and H. And I fully believe that between the two of them, they have answers. And they have answers that simply everybody's wanting to hear. If in my opinion, if it was my kid, I would be pounding the pavement. I would work night and day. I'd be on every screen. Perfect example, Joseph Petito. When I started getting on YouTube, was to follow Gabby, because I myself am a survivor of domestic violence and abuse, mental, physical, you name it. I have family members that have been in almost the same situation. I've had uncles very, very identical to Mr. Wells. And it gets you to your senses to where you're always looking behind your back when you know they are free and about. Just my personal experiences growing up with these individuals in my life as a child until my adult years, it was very uncomfortable. I remember the evilest of evil uncle showing up. He would just pop in and out because he was always in and out of jail, accused of the same things that he is accused of. And I remember always trusting my gut And ever since I was as young as I could be, if I saw him show up or heard him, I'd run and hide and scream until he would leave. Even as a teenager, I'd go and lock myself in the bathroom. To this day, he's been gone a year in October, but to this day, his trauma he gave our family still affects and still makes you think and go down those rabbit holes of your own experiences of the what ifs. And unfortunately, the facts need to be there and not the what ifs, but it's very hard when you come from a background like this. I wanted some thoughts and answers and concerns, and wondering if anybody else thought the same thing when I relate back to his work sites. I wanted to relate to, if you look at any of the voice boxes or the tarot readings, always comes up mud and cement. And that makes me concerned, where Candace just freely says, you won't find her. Well, after the accusations of possibly knowing where Rose is now, could that be the same with Summer? And if those two are tied together, they'll never find him in cement. Now, let me take you back. The reason why I say that is I come from Flint. And I will get into that story another day. But that was scary as a kid growing up, having my mom have a class action lawsuit against a big corporation that's backed by not the best people, I would say, because they did try to come in my window and get me. They did have camera surveillance on our house 24/7. They did have our phone lines tapped. They did harass us. We had the district attorneys say, you can't go anywhere alone. And my mom would turn around and say, well, I'm always with my family, because she was battling cancer then. And at that point, he made it clear we needed security. I have even seen people get paid to plow through the workers on strike, and seeing a body fly in the air at 5 years old, at how ruthless people can get. The same uncle I referenced to, he had some demons, some major demons, and his demons came to haunt, unfortunately, some of his kids. And people will be ruthless if they owe drug money or revenge. I've seen it and I've experienced it. And I'm only going off of my history, my stories of my family, and my life lessons. That's kind of why I made this channel, is to go deeper into depth of the psychology of things, but also tie into experiences, lessons, ideas, teamwork, almost like a life coach. And I really had time to think about it, because this last September was 1 year since I finished chemo. And yes, I had breast cancer while I was pregnant with twins at that. And I am BRCA positive. So never know when your last breath will be or the next diagnosis will be. But I do know what I've gone through, my experiences. So that makes me look at things a little bit differently than some might, or out of the corner of my eye, I will still question, if that makes any sense. Now, when it comes to Summer, my heart breaks. My heart breaks. I don't understand how someone could do this or let this happen. Yet, they're building a case, yes, but we need to find justice for Summer. She has stuck with me since I learned about her case following Gabby Petito, because I was always a Bravo fan. I stuck to my reality TV so I could just listen to mindless things on TV as I dealt with my own crap, so to say, to be frank. And it is not easy to come live with twins. It's not easy to broadcast or videotape or do much, but I do plan on being more involved and around. I'm kind of talking in circles because this is my first time, and I want to know what your thoughts are. With the Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito case, I grew up on that street at the end, one of the streets that you needed to get to Wabasso on. I know the lay of the land. I was on the Parks and Rec board. I knew Northport because now when I go back, it looks completely different, but I still live fairly close to there. But I know every angle of that area. And watching the YouTubers do map time, I already knew most of that. I knew where to build, where not to build, because a lot of it is swamp. And that was always a big conflict we had being on a board. We wanted to do more parks, but there was a lot of swampland. Well, I followed, and then that's when I started following other YouTubers with true crime. Before, it was strictly cryptocurrency. That is my little hidden secret, I guess you could say, is cryptocurrency. I follow that very closely. It's on sale now, just saying. But I became absorbed into this because I think Gabby Petito, a lot of people put race into it and certain reasons. I think every missing person should get the justice and the attention that she got, frankly. And justice needs to be served. People need to be found. The voiceless needs a voice. And I am so thankful for some of the people that are vocal, because what most do not like is a squeaky wheel. And I saw that firsthand going back to my mom's lawsuit as a child, growing up on the outskirts of Flint. And being a squeaky wheel comes with dangers. But in the end, you know that your conscience is clear and you're doing what's right. You're stomping the ground and stomping the streets, boots on the ground, voicing for what's right because nobody else is in certain aspects. People want a lot of clout and, frankly, not there for the facts or the hard questions. That's where I started following Bullhorn Betty. She asks the hard questions. She's very good at articulating herself. Me, myself, no. I stumble. I talk in circles. I call myself. I say I squirrel a lot. But that's just who I am. Because my mind is constantly running, constantly racing. And There's so much that we can do or bring awareness and be able to put the pressure on. Like she said, now go to the law, protest there. The wells are not speaking. Silence speaks volumes. Like I said, anybody else, if it was their kid, they'd be stomping the streets like Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt. They would make sure their face was on everywhere, not just high as a kite or drunk or what it may be, total speculation. Under the influence, obviously. Panel hopping and talking and bickering instead of where is summer. So that between Gabby and Summer, that is why I wanted to start this and be able to connect with others on top of using my sixth sense to do readings and connect. Because there's many times where I'll have an intuition and my gut 99% of the time is right. So that brings me back to where is summer? What are your thoughts? What are your questions? Unanswered questions, frankly. Many of us can sit and have all these questions that won't get answered, and somehow we have to find the answers and put the pressure on to try to get justice, to try to find this poor girl. It's been 6 months on Wednesday that she's been gone. And yet, there's no excuse. No excuse. I used to help take care of foster kids. My biological father was a foster kid. He was in the orphanage at Flint for 8 years of his life. Baby of 6, all adopted out. He was one of those horror stories that you hear about. So I'm always into finding an answer and finding a solution. I'm very passionate on that. And always have fought for the right, for the justice, for people that can't speak. That's why I do the jobs I do, is to return the favor and put a smile on someone's face. Now, unfortunately, good old boys and certain laws hinder being as ruthless as some of the sleuths. The sleuths can get away with a lot more evidence and hand it over to the authorities than the law can, because then it will disrupt their evidence and charges. So at that point, that's where we all speculate and brainstorm and come together and pull apart the needle in the haystack to find the clues to what happened. And what's missing is the parents should be doing that. Not going home and drinking your sorrows away. Shoot, I lost my whole family by the time I was 22. I had 2 roads to go down. One road was that road, or the other road was the straight and narrow and return the favors to the ones that put a smile on my face when I couldn't keep going. All alone, left with memories. And one thing that stuck in my mind was a good friend of mine. He looked at me and he said, "You know what? When you were born, were you promised this life was going to be easy? Think about it. Was this life promised to be easy when you were born? Nope. You weren't promised crap except for death. You're born, you live, you experience, you pay attention to those stars that could be when you feel like you're just in a big black cloud. You pay attention to the little blessings in a sense to keep going. And it makes you stronger. Sometimes it's the harder road to take, but it's the more fulfilled road. I hope this video reaches you and think deep within what questions we are missing. We know who we're missing, but what speculations between panel hopping and channel surfing to all the other creators on their content to what happened to Summer Wells? I would like to know. I've given tidbits here and there of my experiences, but only one thing comes down to it is my life experiences and how you relate to them and your thoughts and your reactions. Some have knee-jerk reactions because they've been sheltered so long. Some sit back and look at you out of the corner of their eye because life has jaded them pretty hard. And let me tell you, my life has not been easy, but I am blessed. Blessed and busy. So, with that being said, if y'all, they say the red truck. Right now, I want to know, not the red truck. I want to know, well, what car did you take to the watering hole? A. And if it was the truck or the Subaru, then it doesn't add up. And that also goes with the cell phone pings, the data pings. There is barely no data there. And I can justify it because half the time when my dad goes on a trip, he's often there. He knows when and where he's going to lose his signal. And it's more times than not that there is nothing. Can't connect to nothing. And I've been there quite a few times myself. Now, once I could get that answer, then the rest of the questions follow suit. And I will be able to make other assessments and judgments after that. But I am curious on what car did they take to the watering hole? What car? Because how many cars do they have? I saw the bus. See all the beat up cars. So which car was it? I want to know where she's at. And I think that has a big thing to say, is has that car been checked for DNA? Where were her clothes? Where was that tracksuit that she had on? If she changed her clothes when she got home. Candace often said there was a pillow underneath her because she did not want to get Grandma's car wet. So which car was that? I thought Candace was driving. So, that picture, there's no pillow. Where'd the pillow go? All we see is milk jugs, a box, clutter, like everything else, spewed apart. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. And for Hunter, I guess I will refer to him as H, going basically into hiding. And from word on through all of the people talking, he's not the same. So then that makes me question what really happened. What really happened? Because if they were so careless, why would she be so guarded not to go talk to Summer with Allie? And why has H been so different since that day? Why did Grandis leave town? Silence speaks louder than anything. And sometimes my speculations were, if that cement's connected, then is Candace connected to both her sister and Summer? That's my biggest speculation. Is she connected to both? Because what are the odds of two people disappearing? Pretty much the only women in your life, except for your mother, go disappearing. And there's two common denominators to both of those missing people. Don, he has his own demons. I see that. My family is just like his. But does he know what happened? I think Candace, Grandmas, and H all know exactly what happened, because silence speaks more than you know. When you don't speak, you're running. Perfect example, as I always relate back to the laundries. They were silent. Anytime something has happened, they've been silent. And the ones that actually are trying to find justice are the ones that are being loud, pounding the streets, being a voice. Well, if they're not doing that for their own daughter, that makes you question what really happened. Because you're wallowing in your sorrows of being selfish. You need to give the answers that we are missing. It's just it's just mind-boggling to me how you sit up on that hill and I'm talking to you. Hitting the pavement every chance you get. Or like Daniel's father out in Arizona. He has searches every single weekend for him and has found multiple bodies. How does that not? I don't get it. If your child is missing, I'd be doing the same as his father would be in Arizona right now. Not drowning in my sorrows. I put myself aside and put your child first. Something guilty is there, in my opinion, and speculation. Because don't blame it on, that's just your nature. Don't blame it on, that's your culture, that's where you're from, what you do. Like I said, I come from outside of Flint. Farm town. If you needed anything, you went to Flint. But When you want to find your kid, nothing stops you. You pound that pavement. The mother instinct goes in, and you do nothing but go and find justice for your child. That's what I don't get. Where's the justice? Where are you, except for visuals, looking for your daughter? Same with Laundries. They knew where he was. You could tell. The silence spoke louder than the words. No matter what they said, right or wrong, they would be judged. And if I were in their footsteps and I didn't care the speculation. I don't care the judgment. What I care about is my child coming home and safe. And God forbid anybody went after him. There wouldn't be just words. I'd be out there searching. Like I referenced to Daniel's father in Arizona. He pounds that hot sun looking for him constantly. Why don't we see that with this? Michael Vaughn, same thing. The mom is out there. Her face is out there. And it's not a get angry and bash or hothead and run and talk some smack. It's actually pleading to help find your child. I don't hear that. I don't hear that at all. And it's gotten me questioning all of these things, especially when you look at all of those, I don't know if you believe them or not, metaphysics, psychics, voice boxes. Many of them say mud, quick mud, cement, when they try to reach out to Summer. Think about that, especially after today. Especially after today's accusations of knowing where Rose is. And Candace always making a comment, you'll never find her. Well, how do you know? I wouldn't be saying that about my child. I'd be out there looking. I'd be out there speculating, pounding the street, not trying to escape, as they all have tried to many times. I want to know what other people's thoughts are on this, because there needs to be justice and the pressure needs to be put on, just like Laundry. Let me reference to that with the credit card fraud. They at least got him in for something until they could rack up the other charges. Perfect example. Child neglect until they can get other charges, unless it ties into with Summer's disappearance. At least get them in, because right now they're sitting free as a bird, and unfortunately the children are suffering, and that's not fair. That's not fair. The kids need a voice. The kids need a voice. I wish there was more that could be done. I wish more lost children had more publicity. And we need to help. We need to help them 100%. Because they need a voice. Doesn't matter. Need to get the babies home. Whether it's home safe in their bed of someone safe or a proper burial. They need to have more respect for Summer and get her proper. Someone needs to have a come with Jesus, come to Jesus talk, as I would say, and See, they need to talk. Because this little girl, your conscience will be clean once you open. But until then, you'll be in prison in your mind if you don't come clean and say where and how and what. Me, I'd be thinking nonstop. I'm my biggest critic. Think over and over and over and over and over. Backtrack every single minute. Now, I hear a lot of people always discuss their, and I don't know on this subject of losing a child. I have 3. None of them are missing, thank God. But I don't let them out of my sight. But I have experience in a lot of other life lessons. And I question what? How can you be so, what is the word? Lazy on all of the specifics. I would remember every account. Now, granted, trauma can make you black out memories. But when it's this fresh, no way. You'd be going through your head racing every minute. Where, what, who, when, where, why. Every minute. Down to the second. Especially if it's your kid. I know past trauma will erase your memories, yes. Because after I lost my mom, there was about 2 years where I couldn't even remember her face. 3 years. It still struggles to remember her face and her voice. And it was almost as a self-preservant. Like, it was preserving my own sanity. And one morning I remember waking up just sobbing because I remembered her face for that little minute. But when it comes to your children, that's just being lazy. They're in your care. You're in charge. So tell me, where is she? Because I bet my bottom dollar, if it was somebody else that did it, you'd be pounding the street. If somebody else knew and you weren't around, you'd be pounding the street. But it's the self-guilt that keeps you silent. I don't care what you say. The mother bear always comes in first. There's guilt. Don's out, intoxicated, talking, jumping, rubbing elbows with a lot of YouTubers, but not actually physically searching. And that makes me question. He'll mention every now and then, but it's about summer. But if you pay close attention, most of it has to do with them. Their needs, their concerns, not summer. Where, when, who, why, what? All those questions. I'd be spitting out facts, spitting out data, spitting out information, everything we knew. Shoot. If I had to speculate a spouse of doing something, I wouldn't hold it back because your mother bear comes to effect there. Not saying that you don't love your partner, but I'll be darned, I will give you a good question. And I will criticize and overthink. And that's just me going from a mother's thought process. It takes a lot within one to speak the truth, and a lot easier to spit out lies, especially when they're users and abusers. And unfortunately, when you use and you have experience in the system, you're good with your words and you cope and you mold to every conversation. If you're locked up, that's what you do. You negotiate. You find a way to survive. And I see that in them. Is they say what people want to hear. But is it really factual? I don't think so. They're only saying it so their heads stay off the chopping block. Because my gut says, my speculative gut says, spill the beans. Because we all know there's missing keys. Anyways, thank you so much. I will go live eventually again or do another video. But I wanted to put some thoughts out there because the car, Grandma's car, what is it? What does it look like? How does it look? We've never seen it. Never spoke about it. And Starlink. Yeah, you got 7 alibis. But Starlink will also say how long you were at that alibi. Unfortunately. And Candace, I would really like to know your alibi. Not that I turned around and she was gone. Especially when you live on top of a hill like that. That doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. Especially when you can see the cops coming from a mile away. You can see everything from up there. From what I'm gathering, there's a fish. And it's getting kind of smelly. And somebody needs to pipe up. Because if you can see the cops coming, or any cars coming, unmarked, you used to flaunt about it. Neighbors flaunt about it. Talk about it all the time. I've heard it said multiple times that you knew, and anybody that lives up there fully prepared for whatever's coming up that hill. Then how can you lose your daughter? How can somebody sneak up if you guys are able to see every single thing? How can she just disappear like that? It doesn't happen. And one last reference to the uncle that reminds me of Don. He knew the Bible front and back, left to right, up and down, whichever way you read it, he knew it. He could spit out verses better than anybody you'd meet. And he always used that as his scapegoat. So that makes me question. It just makes my red flags. It really raises my red flags. You're going to quote the Bible and you're so religious. Well, I've known a few felons who are just as evil, if not more, than Don. And they know that Bible front and back. Because why they sit in that jail cell, that's what they're watching and reading. They're a changed man. And then once they get you under their little spell, they're not so changed in the long run. And that's what scares me for Summer. This same uncle put a gun to his own mother's head. So it makes me question, which is my grandma. It makes me question, what's the real story? What is really going on? Because it's not adding up. Too many inconsistencies, too many different stories. But you're molding and grouping and getting a story every time you talk to somebody. So I want to know more about that. What is the real story? Because it's not adding up. It's too inconsistent. And of course, like any felon I know or inmate, their story molds for survival. And you can sell shit on a shingle because it's survival. The same with addiction and addicts. You can be quite convincing. It's the ones that cannot and do not enable and see through the BS and lies to actually question. And God forbid, they don't like that. They don't like to be questioned. If you're guilty, they don't want to be questioned. They don't like to talk about it. They don't want to know about it. See nothing, say nothing. But this is a 5-year-old girl that's involved. And somebody needs to come clean. Because she was 5. And I can only imagine how her 5 years of life have been. Because I know I heard the stories of my biological father's life. In and out of the orphanage, in foster homes. It makes you question her life. And yeah, DCF does sit on their butt for more evidence and more facts, personal experiences. They'll question, but they'll sit back and watch. They don't act immediately all the time. And sometimes the kids suffer, unfortunately. Well, leave a comment, like, subscribe. I'm TLC. I will be back around more often. In between Frozen and Cinderella. And I'd like to know your questions, comments, concerns. Like, subscribe, share. We need to get the word out for the angel of our hearts, Little Summer. Everyone called Gabby the world's daughter. Well, Summer is our angel, and we need to fight for her. So, like, subscribe, notifications on, and share, please. And I will come with more content and more thoughts and discussions on this and other topics. And thanks for bearing with me for the first stream. I appreciate it and love you guys so much. Bye.